Hi guys, Wet Hair Brand here today, and today we're going to be talking about my least favorite playstyle in Dead by Daylight. And no, it's not going to be kind of the more common things that you think about where it comes to like camping, tunneling, gen rushing. We're not going to talk about that stuff, surprisingly, because my least favorite playstyle is something that's kind of like a little bit more specific. It's kind of in line with one of those, but it's this very specific way of going about it that I just find incredibly frustrating, and it has to do kind of with that video that I released last week talking about the denial of gameplay, because I feel like it's a great example of denial of gameplay. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about it. So what is my least favorite playstyle in Dead by Daylight? Well, it's people that are greeting gens, but with a very, very specific caveat. Usually this comes down to exhaustion perks, greeting gens with exhaustion perks. Typically, this shows itself in the form of Sprint Burst. Sprint Burst is probably the most common example of this, and this has been a thing basically forever. Basically forever. This isn't a new thing. This has been Dead by Daylight for quite a while. But it also can extend to perks like Life or Balance, depending on, the orientation of the gen. Obviously, if the gen is next to a window, if you just vault it immediately, it's the same deal. If the gen's on a hill, you can just, plop off the hill and go zooming away. Essentially, this whole playstyle of I'm gonna bring exhaustion perks, not for the purposes of traversing the map quicker, not for the purposes of looping better, but for the purposes of exclusively sitting on the generator as long as possible. And if the killer tries to get me off the gen for any sort of reason, any sort of way, I'm just going to end up 3 tiles away, essentially for free. And I find this incredibly frustrating, more so because honestly, I don't play a lot of high movement killers. So there's a part of that like I would suppose you would call that bias there. Obviously, those of you guys who play like Wesker and Blight and those kind of characters, you're not gonna have as much of trouble with this, because when they zoom away, you just kind of like pull out your power and you zoom at them, right? like to you, that's not as much of an issue. But I don't play a lot of high mobility killers. They're just not who appeal to me in the game. I like more precision killers, and I do like a lot of the M1 roster, despite their weakness in the game. I do like kind of like, turning my brain off and just being man with sword or man with knife sometimes, So when you are in that situation where you're somebody who does not have a movement ability, or a killer that does not have a movement option, and you approach the gen, they just hold on to it until the last possible second. And then when you come up where anybody else would be punished for greeting a gen that long, now suddenly they can greet the gen in your face and then just zoom away for free. One of the things that's really, really, it's one of those things that's like really like cognitively dissonant in Dead by Daylight, because like I said, typically if you greet a gen that long, if you greet a gen up until like killer is within like 4 meters of you, that's almost usually a guaranteed hit, right? Like if you greet a gen all the way up until the point that a killer is like literally almost on top of you, you have made a bad play, right? You have made a mistake. You have done something in this game that is a bad play, and you deserve to have something bad happen to you for playing poorly, which is usually, a health stay or getting down, But in this instance, is all you have to do is just bring Sprint Burst, or just bring, bring Life or Balanced and happen to be near something, and you can essentially just get out of these situations for free. For free. And I find it so incredibly frustrating, because it's literally one of those things where it's like, you should have just picked a different killer. Should have just played a different killer. And there's a lot of instances of that in Dead by Daylight. It's not exclusively this playstyle situation. I feel that way on the new Haddonfield a lot, like the remade Haddonfield, because you'll get into one of those houses that has like 3 windows and they're all like god vaults, and like you just find yourself going, man, I wish I was playing Nurse or something, that way I could actually circumvent these really, really crazy vaults. So it's like, it's not necessarily like something that's like new or unheard of in Dead by Daylight. It's just like, you should have just played a better killer. But I think it's really, really frustrating that it comes down to like literally just like, I just happen to get a batch of survivors that are using a specific batch of perks. And that's why. Like, that's why I should have picked a different character. It's just because like the perks that people happen to bring into a match. You guys know how I feel about perks. You guys, I've told you guys my opinion about perk strength is that perks should help a match, but they should never like put you in a winning situation. And I feel like this is one of those situations where like it's really hard not to get value if you just bring these into the match. But specifically with this play style where you just sit on a gen until the last second, especially with Sprint Burst, you can just like, as long as you're not playing a movement killer, they do kind of just get away with that for free, and that's just like incredibly frustrating. And these people, the way they play that way is because they're trying to play safe as possible. So usually this is also coupled with like pre-dropping pallets and trying not to interact with the killer. It's usually coupled with other boring play styles in the game, because the whole like idea behind it is play as safe as possible, get in the least amount of danger as possible, which is, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinions, the not fun part of Dead by Daylight. The fun part of Dead by Daylight is interacting as much as possible. So yeah, do you find this playstyle in Dead by Daylight annoying? If you do not, what playstyle do you find more annoying? Let me know down in the comments below. That's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me today, but I will see you tomorrow because I do upload daily. But if I don't, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.